actually will be the 11th through the 28th verse. This happens often. I've changed it slightly. So beginning with the 11th verse of the first chapter of the Gospel according to John. Hearken unto the reading of the word of the Lord. And he came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and dwelled among us, and we beheld his glory. The glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of him, and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. And of his fullness we have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. Now this is the testimony of John. When the Jews sent Pharisees and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, Who are you? He confessed and did not deny, but confessed, I am not the Christ. And they asked him, What then? Are you Elijah? And he said, I am not. Are you the prophet? And he answered, No. Then they said to him, Who are you, that we may give an answer to those who have sent us? What do you say about yourself? He said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, Make straight the way of the Lord, as the prophet Isaiah said. Now those who were sent from were Pharisees, and they asked him, saying, Why then do you baptize if you are not Christ, nor Elijah, nor the prophet? And John answered, saying, I baptize with water, but there stands one among you whom you do not know. It is he who comes after me, is preferred before me, whose sandal straps I am not worthy to unloose. These things were done in Bethphage, beyond the Jordan, where John was baptized. The word of the Lord to the people of the Lord. Blessed be the name of the Lord. This is the account which John gave us as to Christ coming. And there's some very important statements in there that we need to stop and think about and look. This section starts out with the statement that he came to his own and they received him not. Then John says, as many as did receive him. What does the word receive mean? There's a lot of easy definitions, but actually the word in this way means to take in, to make part of. If we receive somebody into our family, they become a part of it. This is the way in which this is talked about receiving. This is the way in which we are supposed to receive Christ into our life. John used this term very, very pointedly because it had a very deep meaning for the Jewish nation and for the Jewish people. The concept of receiving was one which they fully understood. That it wasn't a passive thing. That it was an active and complete concept. We have to, folks, we have to receive Christ into our lives in the same way. Because if you listen, John goes on to make something very clear. It's those who receive Christ in this way are born again. And you notice it says, not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man. In other words, none of the ways in which we constantly or oftentimes think of birth. John says this has absolutely nothing to do with it. This is a birth that is ordained by God. We are different. This is a concept that, of course, Nicodemus couldn't get his mind around. The whole concept of being reborn, to him only would register with one of these other ways. A physical rebirth. That's not what we're called to. We're called to a spiritual rebirth. And look at the promise. Look at the wonderful, wonderful promise that when we receive God in that way, we receive Christ, what happens? We are allowed to become the very children of God.